Yeah, I'm gonna grab my wallet and grab my wallet. I swear these Girl Scouts are getting more and more pushy each year. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be talking about kind of an introduction to everyday carry, or EDC, specifically focusing on what makes a good EDC pistol. Now there's a bunch of different EDC pistols out on the market that are all good options. There's the highly kind of recommended Glock 19. You also have guns like the SIG P365 line, which has the standard, the SAS, the XL, the macro, a bunch of different variants there. You have the Glock 43X, which is also very popular. Glock 48, it's also a very popular one. Smith & Wesson Shield Plus, the list goes on. And when you have that many options, it can be kind of difficult to think of, okay, well, what do I need? What do I not need? What should I be looking for in a good everyday carry pistol? So I'm going to try to kind of maybe not so much answer those questions, but give you some tools for your toolbox to kind of help you figure out what the best EDC pistol is going to be for you. Because it's going to be different for everybody. Everybody has different wants, different needs, lives in different areas, has different laws that they have to abide by. That's the reason why this isn't necessarily a video on concealed carry as a concept, or in general, is that every state has its own laws, and trying to kind of give advice and stuff like that on legal stuff that I'm not even going to touch that. I'm going to be 100% honest with y'all. I ain't touching that. I'm not a lawyer. Haven't played one on TV. Don't play one on the internet. Never claimed to be one. I'm not going to give out any type of legal advice or anything like that. This is all just going to be what does and doesn't make a good everyday carry pistol. All right, so let's just kind of start off by talking about what I carry on a daily basis, which is a Glock 48. Now, for those of you that don't know what the Glock 48 is, the Glock 48 is basically a 43X frame, so this part right here, with a longer slide and barrel on it, or I guess technically since the 48 came out first, the 43X is a 48 frame with a 43 slide and barrel on it. Either way you want to look at it, it's basically just a single stack 19. Like, it's thin, which is the reason why I really like it. For me, typically I'm going around wearing cutoff denim shorts, skinny jeans, and a t-shirt. So having something thin that conceals well under just a t-shirt and under just a pair of jeans helps out a lot. And still having something that has a long enough grip on it to where I can still get a good purchase and a good grip for proper recoil control, and still has decent capacity. It's the reason why I ended up going with Glock 48. Basically checked all my boxes. I did want a longer slide and barrel compared to the Glock 43X and 43. And that's primarily because I wanted to carry 124 grain ammunition in this. So your typical kind of duty ammunition. I carry a Spear Gold Dot 124 grain plus P. The reason why I didn't want to go with the shorter slide and barrels is that once you get into those higher grains like 124, 147, and then 9mm, once you get below like a 4-inch barrel, you're really not getting the full potential of those rounds, and it's much better for you to carry like 115 grain, something like Hornady Critical Defense. But I wanted to stick with a round that I knew worked, that I really enjoyed, which was Spear Gold Out 124 grain plus P. And I knew that once I made that decision, I knew that I had to stick with something that was going to be about a 4-inch barrel. And I didn't want to go any longer than a 4-inch barrel, because once you start getting into like the longer barrel lengths and longer slides, the harder it gets to, especially when you carry appendix, the harder it gets to be able to actually conceal this in terms of like when you're sitting down, and the more uncomfortable it gets to actually sit down with this, because basically you'll have this barrel poking you in the nuts or in the thigh or whatever, and it just gets really uncomfortable after a while. You'll end up with basically a muzzle print on your leg. I used to carry with a SIG with a thread barrel on it, and that thing got really annoying really fast, especially in summertime. In terms of like, that's the reason why I chose the Glock 48 over other pistols, but that doesn't mean that the Glock 48 is the best concealed carry option out there. what makes a good concealed carry pistol is something that is comfortable to shoot. That is a big one. Comfortable to conceal. Obviously, if it's not comfortable to conceal, you're not going to want to carry it on a daily basis. What's the point of having a carry gun if you're not going to carry it? And something that you can shoot well. So at the end of the day, I hate to kind of say it like this, but it really is shooter preference. Like, I can give you the fact that, yes, this is about as long as a grip as you want when you're talking about a concealed carry pistol, because once you start getting longer than this in terms of grip length, say something like this dagger where this is a full-size grip, it gets harder and harder to conceal, because this portion right here, the grip, that's really what you're trying to conceal at the end of the day. The slide, like, think about it this way, the slide, the barrel, all that stuff, that's all tucked into your pants. This is what's actually sticking out of your waistband that you're trying to conceal. So having something that is both thin and short helps out with that a lot. But the shorter that you go with that grip, the less capacity you're going to have. So from the factory, the Glock 48, the Glock 43X, they only carry 10 rounds. It's a 10-round single stack magazine, and you can kind of ask yourself if you're comfortable with carrying only 10 rounds. Some people are, some people aren't. I personally like to carry as much ammunition as I can on me, just because I'd rather have and not need than need and not have. 10 rounds was kind of like the bare minimum that I was comfortable with. I really did not want to go any less than 10 rounds. And eventually what I ended up doing was, for those eagle-eyed viewers out there, notice that this is not a factory mag release from Glock. This is actually a Shield Arms steel mag release that works in tandem with the Shield Arms 15-round steel magazines, which basically ups the capacity from 10 rounds flush fit to 15 rounds flush fit. Now, it has worked absolutely flawlessly with my Glock 48, but I have heard other people out there, whether they be running Glock 48 or Glock 43X, that have had issues with the Shield Arms mags. So it's one of those things where I could recommend it, but when you install it and you start using those mags, take them out to the range, make sure that works reliably with your pistol. If it doesn't work reliably with your pistol, swap back to the stock mag release and the stock mags and just go back to using 10 rounds. There's nothing wrong with carrying a 10-round magazine. I just personally prefer to have a little bit more capacity than 10 rounds. Now talking about something that I know that the Tarkov and Call of Duty fans out there will definitely be interested in, which is accessorizing your everyday carry pistol. Honestly, my rule of thumb when it comes to this is keep it simple. Some people carry just bare bones, just pistol, and that's it. I always like to have some sort of light, so I have a TLR6 on this one, and I replaced the standard Glock sights with Ameriglows, just because standard Glock sights aren't all that great. I stick away from going completely all out. Red dots are still good on concealed carry pistols, just gotta make sure that you're getting one that's not going to snag on the way out. In terms of suppressor height sights on a carry pistol, I couldn't really recommend it. I carried with suppressor height sights for a while on my SIG, and it wasn't bad, but it still just kind of felt kind of unnecessary. If you are carrying with something, say, like the size of a Glock 19, something like a TLR7 Alpha is a great light for that option, because it is still short, doesn't add a whole lot of hafter bulk to it, and has really good output. But in terms of carrying with, say, something this size, Glock 48, 43X, or SIG 365 size, if you are going to be putting a red dot on one of these, I would highly recommend something like a Holosun 407 Kilo, or any of those types of options that are the kind of micro RMR prints. All right, and now talking about the less interesting, but still just as important stuff, we're going to be talking about holsters and belts. So holsters, it's all going to depend on where you want to carry. Like I said before, like to carry appendix. This is a tier 1 concealment appendix holster. You see it's got the little appendix wing mod right here. Basically what that does, it helps kind of keep the holster level on your waist, so that way it doesn't kind of shift around in there, allowing the pistol to conceal a little bit better. Just got these standard hooks on there. There's really nothing fancy about this holster. The main thing that I can say when it comes to a good concealed carry holster, it's going to take you a little while to find a good concealed carry holster. Not because they're difficult to find, but because, as I said before, everyone's built different. What's comfortable for me may not be comfortable for you. What's comfortable for you may not be comfortable for the other guy. at the end of the day, you're going to probably end up with just a bin full of different holsters for the same gun, just to figure out what is comfortable for you. Like for my 48, I've probably gone through 3-4 different holsters from different companies until I finally settled on the Tier 1 concealment holster, and this has been my absolute favorite holster to carry with from for my Glock 48. But like I said, it's all going to come down to your preference. Now, you don't have to break the bank and spend hundreds of dollars to get a decent concealed carry holster. You can get ones for, $75. I've seen, custom Kydex manufacturers out there selling decent light bearing appendix holsters for, $120. They're not stupid expensive. Like, they're still expensive, but they're not stupid expensive like some other companies out there. But at the end of the day, like I said, it's going to be a lot of trial and error to figure out what holsters work for you and what holsters don't. If you are kind of just starting off and need a light bearing appendix holster, you don't want to break the bank, and you still don't know like exactly what you want or what feels comfortable to you, a company that I tend to recommend to a lot of people is Werkz, WERKZ. Reason being, they're fairly affordable. I carried with them for a while. They were never one of my favorite holsters, but they also weren't a holster that I hated. Like, it was still comfortable to carry. The Kydex was a little bit thicker than I would have liked for an everyday carry holster. It was kind of more of a thickness of Kydex that I would like more on like an outside the waistband, like duty kind of Kydex holster. But for everyday carry, like I said, it wasn't terrible. Like, I didn't hate it, but I knew that there were still better options out there. And eventually I upgraded and got myself something that now I carry with on a daily basis and I absolutely love. Again, it kind of feels like a cop out, like I did with the handgun portion of this. It's really going to be your own preference that's going to help you figure out what holster is going to work best for you. Now, there are holsters that I would recommend staying away from. Those would be typically like pocket holsters. I just don't like pocket carry in general. That's just negligent discharge waiting to happen. I don't like super cheap fabric inside the waistband holsters. They don't hold your pistol super secure, and it kind of can shift around, and they tend to print really bad. So what I tend to recommend to people, do your research, find a good company, get a holster from them, because if you go to like your local academy or Cabela's, or they sell kind of like the cheaper concealed carry holsters out there, the more like one size fits all type deals, you're not going to be happy with it. I almost guarantee you're not going to be happy with it. Other concealed carry options that I tend to tell people to stay away from, as cool as they are, and listen, I'm a huge Black Lagoon fan. Black Lagoon is like one of my favorite animes. Shoulder holsters. They're just not practical. Like, in today's day and age, they're not. Like, the only time that a shoulder holster would really be practical is if you are wearing, like a suit jacket and you can just quickly reach in and get your pistol. If you're, wearing t-shirts, then yeah, you're not going to be able to really have a shoulder holster on underneath your t-shirt. And if you're wearing hoodies, well, if it's a zip-up hoodie like this one, then that's fine. You can just quickly unzip, kind of reach in, grab your pistol. But if you're wearing a pullover like most people tend to do, well, now you gotta like either lift your hoodie up all the way to get underneath your armpit to grab your pistol, or you have to like somehow reach your hand out. I don't even know. It's just, don't get shoulder holsters. I understand they're cool. I used to love rocking a shoulder holster because I thought it looked cool, but it's just not that good of a solution for concealed carry purposes. If you're going to be carrying on a daily basis, get something that is not a fuss to get on, because again, if it's a pain in the ass to put on your person, you're not going to want to put it on, and you're not going to carry. Get something that's comfortable, because again, it's not comfortable, you're not going to want to carry. And what's the point of having a concealed carry if you're not going to carry? And get something that you're going to be able to live with, because again, you're going to be carrying this on a daily basis. You want it to be something that is not going to obstruct your day-to-day life. All right, and now talking about belts. Now, there's a bunch of different gun belts on the market that you can search, and everyday carry belts, however you want to call them. But as you can see, a good everyday carry belt is going to be pretty rigid. And see, this one pretty much stands on its own. This is a core systems belt. Reason why I like it is because it actually ratchets into place. So you can very easily kind of adjust it once you have your holster on. It's always kind of been a big pain in the ass for me is I'll put my belt on, kind of get it tightened down, and then I'll have to loosen it to put my holster on, and then I'll loosen it too much, and I'll realize that after I get my holster on, and then I'll have to like try and tighten it back down while the holster's still on. It ends up just being a pain. But this one, if I need to tighten it down after I even have that holster on, I can just click it down. If I need to make it looser, I just take this thumb brake and I can let it out a little bit. That's the reason why typically when people are asking me about a good belt for concealed carry purposes, I tend to recommend a core belt. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to have a belt like this to carry with. Before I had this, do you know what I carried with? Seatbelt belts. Yeah, I went full Y2K and I just went back to seatbelt belts because they were made out of, really sturdy material, stuff that wasn't going to be able to be cut or frayed easily. They were comfortable. They were pretty easy to adjust, especially after I put the holster on. And they were just honestly something I could live with on a daily basis. Now, they weren't the most secure way of keeping the holster like in the same place and keeping it straight up and down, because there wasn't a whole lot of rigidity in the belt. But at the same time, I carried like that for years and never once had a problem with it. The only reason why I ended up upgrading was because, well, I knew that this was going to be a little bit more comfortable, a little bit easier to live with, and I saw it as a investment, a good upgrade that would make me more comfortable when I was carrying, especially when I was, say, sitting down. And I knew that this was going to help me conceal my pistol more and make me feel more comfortable out in public. Again, I hate to kind of keep saying this, but it's all going to come down to your preference. Just like I said, you're going to have a box full of holsters. You're also going to have a drawer full of belts. And different ones that you like, different ones that you don't like. It's all going to come down to you just trying things out and figuring out what you like. Because, if you're someone who's kind of built like a rectangle and your, chest goes right into your hips, something like this might be almost like difficult for you to wear. So like me, who's got hips, then this actually might get a little uncomfortable after a while, because it does. After a little while wearing this can get a little bit uncomfortable because this digs into my hips, since I have more pronounced hips because God decided to give me childbirthing hips, even though I can't do that shit. But anyways, the last thing I'm going to touch on is ammunition, because I feel like it's part of your everyday carry. It's a choice that you have to make in terms of what ammunition you're going to be carrying. Obviously, it's going to come down to the gun that you choose, the caliber that you choose, all that type of stuff. Main points I want to go over here is don't carry ball or full metal jacket, like unless you're in New Jersey and they have their stupid laws where you can't have hollow point rounds. Basically, if you live in a state that allows you to carry hollow point rounds, carry hollow point rounds. I know that they're more expensive, but here's the thing. You're buying them with the hope that you're never going to have to use them. So hopefully it's a one-time investment, at least, until it's time to cycle through your ammunition. And everyone's got different theories on that. If you store your ammunition in a good environment where it's not humid, not anything like that, and you take decent care of it, and you kind of cycle through the first round in your magazine, so that way you're not constantly chambering the same round over and over and over again, your ammunition is going to last a pretty long time. I mean, hell, I've got surplus rounds for my Mauser that are from 1941, and they're still good. Like, just store it right. Don't continuously load the first round over and over and over again, and you'll be fine. Some people say cycle through it like once every year. And even if you do cycle through it once every year, I mean, that's safe for your typical like kind of carry loads. Typically buy a box of 20 to 25 for about 20 to 25 bucks, depending on what you're going with. Again, caliber and all that kind of stuff will change the price of it. But sometimes you can be paying about $1 a round, or typically less for good carry ammo for a pistol. But anyways, so even then, you're only spending 20 bucks every year on new carry ammo. And what do you do with the old carry ammo? You shoot it. You just shoot it. And especially when you're first buying ammo for your gun to carry, buy a few different types and actually shoot the ammo. Why? Because you want to make sure that actually cycles well through your gun. Most decently made pistols are going to cycle whatever you throw at them. But at the same time, sometimes a pistol just finds a load that it does not like, that does not want to cycle. And you don't want to learn that your pistol does not like that load when you need to actually shoot a bad guy in the face. So when it comes down to it, when I'm trying out, or like when I get a new concealed carry gun and I want to try out different loads with it, usually I'll choose 3 that are kind of where I'm looking at, what I'm kind of going for, and I'll see which one cycles the most reliably. If they all cycle reliably, okay, which one, do some research, which one has the better ballistics, and kind of go from there. All right, so I know this was a bit of a shorter video, but that honestly comes down to the fact that concealed carry is a very personal thing. It's not something that I can teach you, yes, this is exactly what you need for your everyday carry, because I'm not going to be able to do that. Everybody is different. Everybody has different waist sizes. Everybody has different levels of beer gut. Everybody has, different sized hands. Everybody has different everything. You're unique. You are the only you in this world. And at the end of the day, you need to figure out what works for you. Kind of sucks that it takes a lot of trial and error to do that, but once you figure out what works for you and you figure out what makes you comfortable, that you can go out on a daily basis and just be comfortable out in public, go with that. I mean, just saying, that advice doesn't just apply to guns and concealed carry. You are the only you in the world. Figure out what makes you comfortable. Figure out what makes you happy. Like, just be comfortable in your own skin. I know it takes a little while to do that, but it's so rewarding when you do. Sorry for going kind of dad, they, them, parental figure advice on you there. But it really is just a very personal thing, concealed carry is, and your everyday carry. And it's going to take you some trial and error, and you're going to have to kind of figure some stuff out on your own. I can just give you the kind of cliff notes and what I've learned over the years of carrying, and what I've learned from my own personal experience with what worked for me and what didn't work for me. But at the end of the day, you're going to have to kind of get out there and figure out what works for you. It really breaks down to a reliable pistol that is concealable, that you are comfortable to shoot, that you are good with, a holster that has good retention, is comfortable to carry, and is something that you're going to want to carry on a daily basis, a belt or other retention device that is, again, comfortable to wear and something that you're going to want to wear on a daily basis, and then ammunition that is reliable in your pistol and does what you need it to do when you need it to do it. That's it. It's honestly a pretty simple thing. It just takes a lot of effort on the individual shooter's part to figure out what works for them. And I hope that the advice that I've given in this video kind of helps steer people in the right direction for them. And like I said, right direction for you may not be the right direction for someone else. Figure out your own way and figure out what works for you.